Big contracts coming in to the NFL over the summer. Only one place to start. The man, Patrick Mahomes, $503 million extension for 10 years. What do we think about this contract, Ethan?
Well, I mean, he's set for life. He's got nothing better to do now, is he? I mean, even if he breaks a leg, does anything right now, he's safe. I mean, what do you do with that amount of money? Like, I think it's crazy from the Chiefs to pull that out. But I suppose when these day and age, everyone's like contracts is just everyone's creeping up, just trying to outdo the next QB's price tag, really, aren't they? But I mean, 505 mil. Where did that come from? Where did they pull that number out of?
I agree with the locking down. Your superstar.
Yeah.
They've got him for mostly his entire career, or at least his good years. But it seems a bit weird that they've gone so far over. What was the previous?
I'm pretty sure like 200 or 300 mil would have set him all right. But,
well, yeah.
I just don't know. I don't know what the chairs or anyone was thinking going into that. Like, obviously, whoever's Mahomes' agent, he definitely reeled it out of them as well. So like he's got a foot in there quite easily. And I mean, Mahomes is a nice guy. I'm sure he just sweet talked to most of it, but I just don't know. How did he sweet talk 505 mil out of them though?
Well, it's a weird one. We mentioned off camera about Andy Reid. Obviously, he's taken all these big signings. We'll get on to Chris Jones and his big contract. And then this now puts the organisation under a stress because you're looking at Tyreek going to want a contract soon enough. Travis Kelce's going to want a contract soon enough, and they can't do it. So
I mean, it's all going to happen as well in the next 2 years. Like as soon as that 2-year threshold is done with, and Mahomes' 50 mil contract comes into play, or 45 mil, like you said before, how much money do they have then for the star players like Tyreek and stuff like that? What are they going to start to lose their receivers, or is it just so they can win the next 2 Super Bowls? Is it literally just to tag it like that, just to get some trophies under their belt?
I saw Sammy Watkins say, why would he go to a team down the bottom and take a big contract when he can take a lesser contract and be challenging for the Super Bowls for the Chiefs? And that's what you know. What I like that response. That's really good for me.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think Watkins is the player they were looking at given the next big contract.
So no.
If they
it's going to be a Hill or Kelce or someone like that, isn't it? It's not going to. I mean, they've already given it to Chris Jones, and I mean, he's obviously the best defensive tackle. But it's like people wouldn't look at the headlines and automatically straight away go to a defensive tackle. Obviously, after last season with Aaron Donald and everyone playing big, defensive tackles coming into it, and they're being paid a lot more to stick around because they are being used more heavily lately.
The contract originally offered to Chris Jones was around $52 million. He said, no, I want $20 million a year. And I don't know what happened at the Chiefs, but they just went, yeah, there you go. Gave it him. In the space of 2 weeks, they just changed their mind.
Yeah, I was going to say it was just 14 days. And they were just like, yeah, you can guarantee 27 mil for the whole 4 years. And now they've gone to, 80 mil?
Yeah.
Guaranteed, or it is something like that. Something ridiculous.
Is it? I understand, obviously, wanting to lock down. The Mahomes one makes sense in my head. Do you know what? I get it. It makes sense. This Chris Jones one, he's locked in for 4 years. Is it bad from the organisation that they're just handing these big contracts out?
I think, especially when you got players like young players like Tyreek Hill and Kelce like that now. Like, where do they look? Because they're going to go to a different team now. There's no way the Chiefs are going to be able to hold on from for multiple years. They might have one person on each side of the ball. Now they've got Mahomes and they've got Chris Jones. They've got their two main players that they've clearly thought about and thought through that that's what they want. But like, where do they go from there then? Do they have to rebuild back around them in 2 years' time, 3 years' time? Like a complete rebuild? Is that how it works? Or are they just going to have to try and get lucky with draft picks after that? It's going to be a weird one.
I think, especially with the receivers and the tight ends, I think they're just going to become on a conveyor belt now. Yeah. We'll take the rookies in, keep them for 4 or 5 years, and then when they want the big contracts, get rid of them, bring in the next one.
Yeah. I mean, you do get pretty much your best years out of receiver in the early doors when they're the quickest, just when they're the most athletic, I suppose. But then like a tight end and stuff like that, they mature better, if you know what I mean. Like Kelsey and stuff like that, he's clearly come on further on along his seasons. Like each season, he seems to just get better at the later end of it. So I don't know. I feel like it could be an issue for them.
I feel like, especially with Kelsey, after Mahomes, he probably is their next best player, and in a position that's such a premium these days.
Yeah.
In terms of tight ends in the league, Kelsey, Kittle, and then maybe Zach Ertz if he can stay fit.
Yeah.
I like that elite. Beyond that, there's obviously a lot of people there, but there's no real star quality depth.
Yeah. It's like you haven't got people like, I mean, you've got Gronk in the league, but there's no Gronks anymore, if you know what I mean. Like there is nobody's coming through to look like that and fill that position or void that's at the tight end position where they can do it all. They can block, they can catch a ball on the run, they can make a big play, being the playmaker, tight end, and also stopping the defense from getting and killing your quarterback pretty much. So I think it's a very expensive position right now.
Moving around the league, Cleveland Browns paying Myles Garrett $125 million over 5 years.
Yeah, I think I saw that coming from the Browns. I think Garrett has been solid for him, like when he has played, and he obviously was good coming from the Jags. It depends on what the Browns are really going for this year. Are they just trying to entice him to be more well behaved?
This is the big question mark with this contract is he going to become a liability? He can't be getting. I'm willing to say that what happened last season with him hitting Mason Rudolph, I don't think he's going to do that again. I will give him the benefit of the doubt. You know, he claimed, obviously I know it wasn't backed up with no evidence, but he claimed the racial slur. Do you know what? Yeah, okay, you've had this, that's happened, that's fine. But it's then, if another one happens, then what?
Yeah.
You kind of put yourself in this position now that you've got to pay it out, you've got to do it, you've got him, he's staying there.
Yeah.
You've bought into him, but is he buying into you?
Yeah, it's a risky situation. Where is he grown from that situation from the start, and has the rest of the league grown from it as well? Like people are just going to now antagonize him on purpose. He's got that thing. And I don't think Brown, if he throws something up like that, if someone purposely targets him with something and the refs don't hear it, such and such, and he flips out, that's his contract gone.
Yep.
Like they will. If he breaks it, there'll be some clause in there where if he breaches it like that, if he misbehaves, I'm sure that they'll get rid of him. But hopefully that doesn't happen. Obviously, it's a big issue for him. But I do like Myles Garrett. It would be good to see him come back. One we said off camera that we missed earlier in the summer.
Yeah. Just to our surprise, Ryan Tannehill, $118 million over 4 years.
Don't know where the fuck that came from.
Yeah.
Like I said to you earlier, I did not even know he had a contract extension. I have been quite out of the loop with it this summer, but where did it come from? How did they think it through? I just no words from me, to be quite honest.
I'm glad. I'm kind of glad that I missed it, and I've missed it for a few. It happened quite a while. I think it happened in March.
Yeah.
So, how that one just got put under the radar from us.
I don't know how we missed it, to be quite honest, because I feel like we were quite on the ball with everything that was happening in the NFL, especially around the start of quarantine and stuff like that. And then that's a big contract to be had from a QB, and we just completely missed it.
Just putting it in context of, he's up there at just under 30 million a year. Russell Wilson, arguably,
he's on 35.
Yeah, arguably the best quarterback at the moment, or the most consistent quarterback that we've seen.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Not too far away there. 7 million, I know it's a lot of money, but in terms of the way they keep jumping up, what?
I just don't know where the conversation started with that amount of money for him, and who justified it to be like, oh yeah, let's just give it him. Like he's won Super Bowls consistently, hasn't he? Like, look at him play. It's like, no, he hasn't. He's not worth that amount of money. Like, he hasn't. I don't think he's shown it, and maybe he can grow into it. But do you give a contract to someone that can potentially grow into it like that, like a QB? Like, surely they have to prove their worth for such a huge contract like that.
And you're asking him as well to grow into it. He's 31 years old. Like, it's not like he's Mahomes is 24 and got his contract. If Mahomes hadn't performed the way he had, and you were like, okay, we'll give you a 3-year deal, we want you to prove it.
Yeah.
That makes sense, because when he comes out of it 27, and he's got his prime years ahead of him. But at 31 years old, and he might play in the league because he's 40, around that age. So it's another 9 years. But this is it. You're saying to him, we're going to make a Super Bowl charge. He's the quarterback that's going to lead us there. And I don't think he's of that caliber.
No, I just think even with people like Russell Wilson still in the league, you've got Mahomes coming through, you've got Lamar Jackson, you've got Kyler Murray, all these youngsters coming through now that he's got to compete with. I just don't think he's even up to their standard at all. Like, in comparison, like their games just, even without the team around them, I just feel like if you're going to put them on a 1v1 situation, so to speak, for accuracy stats and stuff like that, how is this worth coming to play at 31 years old? Like, it's a tough one for me. I don't know where that's come from.
One part that the Titans did, I'm not going to say got it right, but that makes sense, is they paid Derrick Henry $50 million over 4 years.
Yes.
They waited out.
Yeah.
Rushing champion, it all makes sense to me.
It had to be done. Like, I don't think they could have. If they'd have lost him, then they wouldn't have even a single chance of even the playoffs. I don't think without him. I mean, that's your star man, really, isn't he?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you've got two people now in your offense who have got them big contracts. One, an older man, and Derrick Henry being the beast himself. How do they play this season? Are they just going to go into it being like, oh, safe, got my money now, worked for it that year. Oh, we're getting on a bit. We've secured the money. Can we actually make the Super Bowl with the team we've got? Or are we just safe now we've got our contracts?
I think that AFC South is probably going to be one of the most tightly contested divisions this year. So it's almost if they don't make the playoffs, it's understandable. But for them, dishing out these contracts, if they don't make the playoffs, it's a loss. It's as simple as no.
Yeah. It's a massive loss, especially with Tannehill having that kind of weight behind him. I think it's going to hurt his ego, it's going to hurt his confidence and everything if he doesn't do something with it. And I think people are going to go at him if he doesn't do something with it. Like, the fans are just not going to enjoy that. It's going to be a very harsh year, I think, for NFL.
I think as well, combining him with Tannehill, as we've seen this year in free agency, so many quarterbacks available. And I just think so many that are probably on his level or a similar level that are going for so much cheaper, like a Nick Foles, Teddy Bridgewater, Marcus Mariota, who was there and they've let go.
Yeah.
I understand, obviously, last season didn't go too well for Mariota and they brought Tannehill in, they went to the playoffs. But I don't think he deserves a contract based off that one season.
No, it's like he did what he was brought in to do, I suppose. But like you said, he hasn't proven it through one season. I don't think you can give someone a season, just give them that one season to do it, and then slam a contract on them, because then there's so much pressure on both the team and him now to perform to that level of money. Like, money's talks these days, and like it will come back to bite him, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just a couple of the last ones just around the league. Very early in the off-season, Amari Cooper took home $100 million over 5 years for the Cowboys. Yep. I don't think the issue here is with Amari Cooper getting that kind of money. I think the issue,
is Dak not getting anything.
Yeah, and I just think I looked at Amari Cooper's stats from last year, and the one that stood out to me, because I remember watching the game as well, was in New England. He had 2 targets, 0 receptions, 0 yards, nothing. And difficult game, I understand that. But for my star receiver that I'm going to pay all this money to, that can't happen once. Not once across the season.
Yeah. No, I think it's really difficult as well with receivers right now because they're starting to get a lot more money fed to them. You're looking at Julio Jones, people like that they have. And when AB was in the league, he had a lot of money thrown at him, and then as a receiver, it's like you have to have built that relationship with your quarterback and so. But then if he doesn't trust you in a big game against someone like the Patriots to target you that often, or if you're just not getting open, like the Patriots, when you're going up against Belichick, you have to make something of yourself, and it doesn't matter where you are on the pitch. If you're at free safety, if you're at cornerback, or if you're a receiver or running back or an O-line, you have to make some form of play. Like, you just have to show up. Belichick will see that weakness, and it proved, I think, that a lot of weaknesses were shown in that game.
Is that game based on, maybe this is coming to the contract talks of, in that game, we know about New England's secondary. We know it's so good. I obviously enjoy that.
Yeah.
But your quarterback, regardless of whether Dallas like Dak or not, you're trusting him with your offensive plan, and you're saying to him, don't throw the ball his way. That kind of speaks volumes in the way of, if it was Michael Thomas, if it was Julio Jones, if it was DeAndre Hopkins, I don't think we'd see that. I don't think they'd be, their secondary's good, so we're not going to target you.
Yeah, I think it'd probably end up being like, let's just put it in a situation where they are one-on-one, and let's prove that you are worth that much. Let's see what you can do against them in a different formation or whatever. I suppose it is just one game when you think about it like that. And like, as a receiver, obviously there is mostly 4 receivers or 5 if you've got a running back that can catch as well. Like, it is difficult for a receiver to be targeted like all the time. But when he is your star receiver, and you're telling me he didn't get targeted but that often in a game that was that important.
Arguably the game that lost them going into the playoffs. I know there was obviously a lot of other losses along the way, but started to derail. The other one, this was the big early off-season, was Christian McCaffrey taking $64 million over 4 years. Interesting stat going back to Amari Cooper is McCaffrey was actually targeted, I think, 30 more times than Amari Cooper was across the season, and McCaffrey's a running back, so I think that tells you enough.
That's a very good point, to be fair, and especially with McCaffrey, him being a running back, but also he does show up in every game, and he's getting a lot less money too. I think with Cowboys obviously having them more money in the franchise and stuff like that, and they believe they know where they're putting it, but I think it's going to be hard for Cowboys to justify putting the money there instead of into Dak, to be fair.
Just final thought. There's always, when you pay a running back that much, there's always a stigma of happy for him to get paid, but running backs should not get that much money. Would you have liked to have seen in Carolina the chance of McCaffrey and a fully fit Cam Newton on a dual threat running attack?
Yes, 100%. I think I've watched a few of like Cam Newton's interviews post-season, and I think he he did put in a lot of effort into the Panthers, and I feel like he does. I think he's going to come out absolutely all guns blazing this year. I think if he'd have stayed, he would have proven something. And I think he's going to prove something this season. I think he's ready now. I feel like whatever was wrong with him, whatever was confidence he's lost, whatever is coming back. Because in the interviews, he's sounding real comfortable with himself, and he's starting to feel himself. He's starting to trust himself again, I think. And I think seeing him and McCaffrey going all in fire like that, it would have been like Lamar Jackson, I think, and RG3.
Ring 7. Ring 7.